Afternoon, everyone. The Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee called to order. Today is Wednesday, February 12th. It is 4:01. And clerk, could you please call the roll?
Chairperson Patty Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Shweta Bade.
Here.
Alderman Carl Franco.
Here.
Alderman Mike Seville.
Here.
Alderman Bill Donnell.
Present.
5 present.
Thank you. We're going to start with the approval of minutes, 25-0100, the approval of the minutes from the Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee that was held on January 29th, 2025.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Franco, second from Alderwoman Bade. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that move forward. Clerk, do we have anyone here for public comment?
Yes, we do.
Would you please read the rules for public comment?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the BZE committee for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair for the purpose of maintaining order may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the BZE committee shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment.
And our first person for public comment?
Matthew Sorens.
Hello, Mr. Soren. You have 3 minutes, starting now.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for the opportunity to share. I don't think I need 3 minutes, but I'm a resident on East Downer Place, about 1 block from the Las Rosas proposed development. And I'm also a member at San Pablo Church, and I just wanted to voice my support for this project. I think it addresses a huge need for affordable housing in our community, and something that I think is really helpful to our church as well. So just wanted to voice my support.
Thank you. Clerk, do we have anyone else for public comment?
We do not.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the first item on our agenda, item number 24-1005, an ordinance annexing property located at 40 West 098 Galena Boulevard to the city of Aurora 60506. Do we have any presentation on this one?
Just pretty briefly, I guess, some background. As you can see in the staff report, this is really just an annexation for Christ Community Church out on West Galena Trail. Really, they're annexing to the city. They've been there since 2004, really to get access to city water. So we're incorporating them to the R1 zoning standards, and there's really no other background to the proposal. I think we might have representatives here if they want to come up and speak. If there are any other questions for staff, it's pretty straightforward.
Do you guys have anything you'd like to present to us? If so, go ahead and come up to the mic and announce your name, and feel free.
Oh, and then I also forgot to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Stephen Bravo, planner with the City Zoning Division.
Hi, Steve.
We have representative.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah. So I'm the CFO with Christ Community Church, and like he said, we've been at that property since 2004. We're surrounded by properties there that are all part of the city of Aurora, and so since we identify this as our Aurora campus, it kind of makes sense to, as we serve the community, let's actually formally make it known that we are a part of the city. And then secondly, as he mentioned, as the campus is growing, we're looking at our infrastructure, and we really don't want to be in the water and waste management business. And so it would be fantastic as part of the annexation if we could connect to city water and sewer. So,
Does anyone have any questions for the petitioner or for Steve? No? May I
So
have a
moved.
motion?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item moves forward 4-0. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to skip the next item so that I can do the 3 of them together. I'm going to go down to 24-0076. Are you guys okay with that, Airport? You guys good with that? If I skip down?
I don't care, I was confused at the numbers. You said 20,
I'm going to go 250076.
that is me.
That is you, yeah.
You said 24.
I may have. I was just seeing if you're awake.
Of course, Madam's always correct.
I'll go ahead and read a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute an amendment to a design phase engineering agreement in the not-to-exceed amount of $14,800 to execute a construction phase engineering agreement in the not-to-exceed amount of $102,300 with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilly Incorporated. This resolution will also authorize the agency agreement with the state of Illinois to rehabilitate Airfield Lighting Vault AAR 4915 and replace vault generator ARR 5117 projects located in the Aurora Municipal Airport. And I believe first one is ARR, not AAR. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. Steve Andrus with the Aurora Airport Division. I think the title pretty much says it all. This is sort of our standard block grant type project. Last year, the design phase engineering agreement with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilly was approved by council. There was an amendment, which is also part of this resolution, in the amount of $14,800. This resolution also approves a construction engineering agreement with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilly, the city's aviation consultant, as well as authorizing an agency agreement between the city of Aurora and the state of Illinois. I'm here to answer any questions. To me, it's very straightforward, but I've seen so many of these, they all kind of look the same to me. But I'm happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Seville, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item moves forward 5-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My phone. Okay, so I'm going to read the next three items, the last three items all at one time, and we'll go through them one at a time. How about that? Is that okay, Jill?
Yes.
Okay, so the second item, 250079, an ordinance establishing a conditional use plan development, approving the Las Rosa plan description and amending Chapter 49 of the Code of Ordinance, City of Aurora, by modifying the zoning map attached thereto to an underlying zoning of R5 multiple family dwelling district, R4 two-family dwelling district, and R2 one-family dwelling district for the property located at 550 Second Ave and 545 through 563 East Benton Street. The next item is 250080, a resolution approving the final plot for lots 1 through 3 of Las Rosa subdivision located at 550 Second Ave and 545 through 563 East Benton Street. And the third item is 25-0081, a resolution approving the final plan of Lot 1 for Las Rosa subdivision located at 550 Second Ave for mixed-use development.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Jill Morgan, a senior planner. I was going to quickly kind of go over the zoning, and then we have the petitioners here. They have a quick presentation they would like to present, and then answer any questions. So this is the petitioner, Association of Individual Development, is requesting the conditional use plan development, which includes the plan description to allow for the redevelopment of the current building and the current previous school building and the construction of a new building for apartments with associated offices, and to continue to use the existing building as a religious institution and housing. I'm showing a location map on the screen. So the plan description is for all the parcels owned currently by the church, including the existing church, the event hall, the office building, the residential house, the historic school building, and all the parking. The majority of the site is currently zoned R2, one family dwelling district with a conditional use for the religious institution and school, and then a 2-unit building right here is currently zoned R5. So, bring up. Okay. So the conditional use plan development will change the zoning into 3 zoning districts, allowing additional uses, variation, and additional restriction. Parcel 1 contains the historic school building and a large parking lot and will be zoned R5C multifamily dwelling district. Parcel 2 contains the current church, event hall, office building will be rezoned R2C one family dwelling district. And then this parcel 3 will be downzoned to R4C 2 family dwelling district. The parcel 1 allows for the conversion of the existing school building to 10 apartments with a gym remaining for community space for the residents, along with the retention of the existing bowling alley and some office space. In addition, it permits the construction of a new attached building with 10 units. The plan description allows for a minimum parking space of 1 space per dwelling unit for the residential use. And then the developer have to agree to a parking management plan that requires the residents to have one parking pass if they have a vehicle, as well as allowing for a shared parking with the church. The plan description parcel 2 basically codifies the existing uses and existing setbacks. And then as I mentioned, the downzoning for parcel 3. Concurrently with the proposal of the project, petitioner is requesting a final plat to subdivide the property into 3 parcels, which is corresponding with the 3 zoning. And then the petitioner also requesting a final plan for Lot 1 of Las Rosas subdivisions. The details of the rest include a new attached building adjacent to the historic church, adjacent to the historic school building. And then there's some landscape plants with some additional trees and shrubs and some fencing. So is there any questions for staff? The petitioner can kind of go more through the project and the use and who they are.
Does anyone have any questions as it pertains to the final plot?
I got a question. So the
Alderman
units,
Franco.
how are they going to be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom? Did I miss that in there at all, or?
I don't think she
I
said.
think that the developer has that in their
Okay,
proposal.
all right.
Yeah,
6 2-bedroom.
yeah, there we go.
And the reason I asked that is because I understand about the 1 parking because historically this hasn't needed it. But we found over the years that that may not come to fruition all the time. So 1 for 1. I know Mike and I both seen that may not work out that well. That's why I wanted to know if there was a 1 or 2 bedroom, because you might have more than 1 vehicle. And if there's an overflow of vehicles, do they go to the church parking lot or do they go to the street?
So, the staff's experience with these type of uses is 1-to-1, usually is pretty accurate. And then the petitioner, and they can speak to this as well, they have these projects and they have several of these types of projects, and they say 20-30% of their residents usually have cars. So this gives us 1-to-1, which is more than what they typically require. Now, it also has, with the 1-to-1, so currently on the parcel that would be parcel A, their parcel, there are 59 parking spaces. So that would be 20 for their residents plus additional 39 left shared for the church. So when we calculated what the church requires with the number of pews they have 24 pews. We calculate about 192 people. So that would be, according to our parking calculations, they would need a total of 48. They have 21 on their site, parcel 2, so they would only need 27 shared. So there's some additional parking on top of what we think the church requires, plus the 20 for Las Rosas. So there are some additional parking.
Okay.
So if there is overflow on that 1-to-1, they still have additional parking spaces on that lot too.
And would it be fair
Lot
to say
one.
that the church parking would be not all the time, it'd pretty much just be on the weekends or church services type of
Correct,
thing, so-
more during the church
Sure,
services
okay.
time.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I just wanted to make sure of that. Okay, thank you.
And the church is good with sharing those spots if needed?
Yes.
Any other questions on this particular?
If somebody comes and has one or two more cars, is there an enforcement that they'd be willing to do so there's no overflow parking on the street? Will they be monitoring the number of vehicles, I guess?
Yeah, so there's
Okay.
going to be, they have to have a parking management agreement so that every resident or every car that is a resident has to have a pass. So if they're starting to get more than 20 passes, then they need to start, or more than 20 plus what the shared parking, they'll have to work something out with the church.
Any further questions before we move to the petitioner's presentation? Yes, Alderwoman Bay.
It looks like a very nice development. I wanted to ask if there will be any school-going kids.
I think the petitioner can answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
If the petitioner would like to come forward and, for the presentation? Petitioners, if you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lizelle Pimentel with WJW Architects.
I'm Lori Baker. I'm President and CEO of the Association for Individual Development, who is one of the 3 partners on this project.
So I can start the presentation and kind of go through the project design. So here's a rendering of the building. On the left side, the volume is the existing school, and on the right side is what's the addition. The existing building will have 10 units, and it'll be converted from the existing classrooms. The gymnasium will be partially a half basketball court and also a lounge community space for the residents. And then there'll be 10 units in the addition part of the building. A new elevator will be provided to serve both the new and existing building, and the addition in design will reflect the character of the buildings on site through the brick and the 2-story height, and we'll also be doing fiber cement siding on some of the building. We'll be providing new landscaping all around the property, and I'll go to the next slide. This is showing a view from the parking lot towards the main entry to the residential building. So we have a landscape courtyard with outdoor seating area for residents, and the courtyard also serves as a shared path for exiting from the apartment building and the existing buildings on site. And we'll show more site context in a couple slides later, but first I'll pass it over to Lori Baker to tell you more about the project.
So the Association for Individual Development has worked in the Aurora area since 1961, and we empower people with physical, developmental, intellectual, and mental health challenges to enjoy lives of dignity and purpose. We have 3 main service areas: services for people with developmental disabilities, services for people with behavioral health diagnosis, and crisis care services. We do services all across Kane, Kendall, DeKalb, McHenry, Northwestern Cook, Western DuPage, and a little smidge of Will County, because as you know, Aurora's in 4 counties. We have 2 partners in this project, and we have done multiple permanent supportive housing projects. So this is a slightly different project than straight up affordable housing. Permanent supportive housing is for deeply low income, very low income persons who have a disability or who have experienced homelessness or are at risk of being institutionalized in like a nursing facility or somewhere and need ongoing services and supports, which is why we, in our experience, there are very few needs for parking spaces because most people are at 30% of area median income or below, and they simply can't afford to have a car and the expenses that curtails. So that has been our experience across the supportive housing projects that we currently do. Our 2 partners in this are the Neighbor Project, which, as you know, is a nonprofit here in Aurora that does HUD HUD certified housing counseling and really works on helping people with low and moderate incomes to be able to buy their first home. And then Hesed House, which mission is to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, and give people the chance to hope again. We have been working together for a number of years, and this is our first permanent supportive housing project that is awarded, but we are hoping to continue to create developments across our service areas as the need is large for deeply affordable housing connected to supports. All of our projects will provide supportive services within the property and outside of the property. And again, we have, all of us have years of working with these populations, the expertise and knowledge, the employees that have the skills and abilities to be able to work with folks. And we're really looking forward to this really innovative project that combines an alternate use for a building that is not being used at the moment, the old school, and then adding on a new portion as well, and then being able to make that accessible for people while also keeping the bowling alley in the basement of the school and having their ability to keep going. Our church partners are also here, Pastor Merlot, and you heard from one of their members during public comment, and we've had a really great working relationship with them, and they are excited to be able to see some good use to the building as well as to meet the needs of people in the community.
Quick question before you step away. Who do you see residing in these 20 units? You said a lot there, but you didn't specifically say who.
Yeah,
who
so
do you think-
there is no set population, right? Because that is illegal to.
Well, it indicates in our reading that there is a set
People with
population.
disabilities,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So that could be any disability. It could be people with intellectual or developmental. It's a disability, what's called disability neutral in IDA speak. So it's not just one disability population. It's people with intellectual or developmental disabilities, mental health diagnoses, physical disabilities, and or people that might not rise to the level of full disability status, but might have multiple chronic conditions like, various health concerns like COPD, heart disease, diabetes, et cetera, that make it difficult for them to maintain their any kind of employment or long-term employment that would allow them to pay for housing outside of it. Could be veterans, people that have experienced homelessness or are actively experiencing homelessness now that we would be eligible for this property. And many of the units are what are called statewide referral network units that are units that are on the state housing waiting list that the Illinois Housing Development Authority, or IDA, keeps, right, for these projects. There would be people that live in the area and that want to move into the area that need ongoing services and supports. So you have to be at 30% of area median income or below and have a need for ongoing services and supports to be eligible to live in the property.
Okay, I have a lot of questions, but we can continue with the presentation, and I'll
Okay.
ask the questions when we're finished.
Sure, so I can go over the site plan here. On the north side, the light gray buildings are all the existing church buildings and their accessory buildings, like their office and parking lot. And then on the south is the subdivision for Las Rosas. The darker gray building is the existing school, and the blue color building is the addition. There's the 59 parking spaces, 14 one-bedroom units, 6 two-bedroom units, and as mentioned earlier, the existing bowling alley is going to remain at the basement level, as well as an existing recording studio, and they'll be accessible via the new elevator as well. And in the middle, you could see the courtyard space. There's a patio connected to the residential building and some walking paths. I'll note too that the property line jogs in the middle of there's a link between the church and its adjoining buildings, and part of that property line jogs so that we can maintain egress from the existing school building from that side of the building. So this is the landscape plan, and you can see there's going to be new trees and plants surrounding the existing building and the new addition. and we're employing best management practices for stormwater, and yeah, it'll hopefully be nice. Lots of new trees along the Second Avenue and in the parking lot too. And these are flat on elevations of the building, but I think the renderings provide a better idea of the design. So we have another slide towards the end, but I'll just click through these. The existing buildings is 2 stories with a basement, and then the addition will be 2 stories tall. And so this is the rendering representing the Second Avenue facade. I think that's it.
Is that it? So I do have many more questions, but does anyone else, before I dive into my questions? Anybody else? We have a question? Okay, so I am well aware of people with special needs because I have an adult child. That doesn't make sense, does it? Always be my child with special needs, so, and the need for this type of housing. But therefore, I do have a lot of questions because sounds like a wonderful concept, but where's this model coming from? This is an interesting mix of residents. So I'm going to use the word concern, but maybe that's not too big of a word to use. They're all going to need services and assistance. They're all going to need different services and assistance because you're talking about a wide range of needs for these
Right.
people. Where's that going to come from? Who's going to pay for it? What is the short term, the long term? So we're basically putting these people there. Part of our responsibility as a city, I want to make sure that we're taking care of them long term. We're not just plopping them in there and they're, all of a sudden we've got a whole gamut of problems of people not getting the services we've needed because the state or someone else has turned their back on them.
So permanent supportive housing has been a model for about 40, 50 years. Illinois was one of the first states that actually began doing permanent supportive housing. It grew out of the homeless service system and then has grown to fill the need for many different populations that have that need for ongoing services and supports. The basic model of permanent supportive housing funding is a 3-legged stool, right? You need the capital dollars in order to be able to build the property, right, which is what we have from IDA. You need the operations dollars, which are the rents that you receive from the persons and from the rental subsidies that are included on this population to make it really affordable for very low income persons, right, that help pay for the ongoing upkeep, maintenance, and all of the things around the building, right? And then you have the third model leg of the funding, which is the service dollars. And most of our service dollars come through a mix of federal and state funds. Many of the services are billable through Medicaid, and so it depends upon the population. But like, for example, if you're talking about your loved one, your daughter, there's a Medicaid waiver, right, that pays for ongoing services, home and community-based services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they call that service funding in Illinois CILA, or Community Integrated Living Arrangements, right? They're 24-hour supports where, and we have a variety of CILAs that we do right now in affordable housing projects across our service area, as well as in property that we have developed like this. So we have a building in West Chicago that's called Main Street Lofts that is just exactly like this building, except for it's all brand new construction because it was a vacant lot. We have 24 units there. We have CILA that is made up of 4 different people in 3 different apartments. We have iCILA, which is intermittent CILA, which is less than 24-hour supports for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities that receive services there. We have people with behavioral health diagnosis who receive Medicaid billable behavioral health services from different staff, right, that are on the mental health side. And then people can also come with their own service package. So any one of our partners or other people that might refer folks on into the property can also provide supports. The Neighbor Project is looking at what resources from the Financial Empowerment Center, right, can be provided for various members that are there. Obviously, we partner with HESED a lot in terms of a reciprocal services because we serve a lot of the same population. So there are lots. I mean, these projects have been going on for years, exactly the same way and successfully for years. And I can take you to a bunch if you want to go visit them.
No, you don't have to go into that. I do have a full understanding of them because
Yeah.
of my daughter. She's 33 years
right,
old.
right.
But I also know that the state of Illinois is way behind in this type of housing from other states because I am from New York and I have a sister who's a manager.
We are,
in this.
we
So-
actually, AID is like one of the few DD providers that actually provide SILA outside of a single-family home, because in Illinois, that's been the model, right? That is too expensive a model, and it is not how most people without a disability live, right? With 4 to 8 people living in the same home, right? That are adults. Like most of us don't live that way, right? Unless we have a very large family. We are actually innovators across the state of Illinois. We have a lot of our peers coming to us at AID to learn how to do this within affordable housing projects and permanent supportive housing, because this is more of what people with intellectual and developmental disabilities want in terms of being able to live like their peers live without disabilities.
And how are these people vetted? How do you decide who goes into this, it's 20 units, so.
It all, it's all fair housing stuff. Like we have to do, we have to open a waiting list, we have to accept referrals for SRN and 811 units from those SRN and 811 waiting lists. They get referred to us, and then they're all processed along a fair housing line, just like any other apartment building would be, right? Where we have to comply with, first come, first serve, go through, determine eligibility. People have to be income eligible and need those services and supports, and then they process all their paperwork. And as that first application comes in, they're gonna process that. If you're eligible, they're gonna gather all your documents and all the things that you have to do to prove to all of our funders, which are multiple funders, right, that these folks are eligible to live there, right, and move in. And then once that happens and they've done all that and they're approved, then they'll be able to sign a lease and move in.
Well, I hope to see this to be one of the first of others that we do have here in our city and surrounding city. But my main focus is to make sure that we're going to maintain the integrity of these people who move into these facilities, and that we are providing them with not just a cookie cutter service, but the services that they need so that they can continue to thrive and be effective citizens. So
We
that's why
support
I'm
about
asking.
1,500
Well, let me
people.
finish my
Oh, go ahead.
finish
Yeah.
my comment.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah.
And these are things that, that are very near and dear to me.
Yeah.
Not just my daughter. My daughter is in a happy place, but I know
Right.
thousands of people
Right.
that are not in a happy place,
Absolutely
that are looking
correct.
for these types of places.
Right.
So
Right.
this is something I'm going to be keeping a really close eye on, and I'm very excited that you guys are here. I just want to make sure we're not getting lip service, and I'm not saying you're giving us
Yeah.
lip service. I understand
Yeah.
the state and
Yeah.
and what it's like in our government for these types of services, because I've been doing it for 33 years.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we are providing these people with what they need so that they can maintain their integrity as human beings, and that they are supported and active citizens in our community, and that we are given each and every one of them, because you're talking about a wide variety of people here, people from a disability to people from, something completely different, where one could really not like the other one just because of what they have going on in their own heads. So I'm concerned about making sure that we're taking care of each and every one of them individually.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are different parts of our programming, right? And then we don't have DD staff working with people with behavioral health, or behavioral health staff working with people with DD, unless they have a behavioral diagnosis as well, which people do, right? People have dual diagnosis. But we support probably about 1,500 people with a behavioral health diagnosis in affordable housing, with many of these types of services that we don't own. And then we have properties that we do own. I think like Sherman Apartments is in the Will County portion, or DuPage County portion of Aurora, right? And so we have apartment building there. We have an apartment building that's across from the police station off of, what road is that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm bad with roads, but you know where I mean. So we have like 3 apartment buildings in Aurora that we currently do, as well as our group homes on the DD side, which we probably have 16 or more in the city of Aurora. We support about 160 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in SILA settings. We support another 50 or so in what are called intermittent or less than 24-hour services, SILA in their own apartments across, Kane and Kendall County. And that number continues to grow because we help those people access affordable housing, right?
Yet there's still a great waiting list.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
there's
yes,
huge
yes,
waiting
yes.
lists everywhere. Yeah. There's not enough affordable housing anywhere for any population, but particularly not many options for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But
Anyone else have any questions?
I do, Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you.
Ms. Spade.
How are you going to advertise this? And will the Aurora residents get first preference, or is only for Aurora residents? I have
it is
3
only
questions.
only for people that are at 30% of area median income or below and need ongoing services and supports. So proving that they either have a disability or some other need for ongoing services. Those are your 2 eligibility criteria. We have a whole tenant selection plan and all the criteria that our funder, the Illinois Housing Development Authority, requires in terms of how you manage waiting lists. We will receive referrals for our statewide referral network units from the statewide referral network. When the property is at 65% of construction completion, they start sending those referrals. And then we will, at that point, open up a waiting list for any other persons that are interested. And again, we'll do that in compliance with fair housing laws and the requirements that is. So anybody who is working with potential tenants could help them get onto the waiting list once it opens. And, we have to advertise that in the paper. We have to, we have a interested party list that we gather people's information. What we've done on our other projects is we put an informational page out on our website and have people put in that are interested in getting information once the waiting list opens, right? And it's called the interested parties list. We send out information to them. We're just getting ready to open up our waiting list on a project that's like this. It's in Elgin that we're finishing construction on, and the email has gone out to the interested parties list, and the ad has been in the paper. There will be another ad in the paper this week. Then we also then email to all social service agencies and other potential people that might know folks, right, that potentially could benefit from living in this, and get information out to them as well. So we do everything we can to advertise and get out the word. We put stuff on social media, all the places, and then say, here's the date and time that the waiting list will open. It's usually electronic so that people are able to, 8 a.m. on Thursday, November 5th, right? They are able to, jump online and start getting their application in. Then they start to process those from the first, the person that has the first timestamp all the way to the person that has the last timestamp. But in Elgin, we currently have 640 people on the waiting list for low-income housing tax project that we just opened up there across from the new permanent supportive housing project that's just going to open. So the need is large everywhere, and you usually don't have a hard time filling these buildings. It's actually, you end up with a lot of people on your waiting list.
So Aurora residents will be given preference?
Aurora residents?
Aurora residents.
I mean, there is no preference, but in general,
So it's
people
statewide.
that want to live in Aurora and are living in Aurora find out about it, right? I mean, that's who we advertise to. We're not advertising to people outside of Aurora. Service
No, the
providers,
answer is no.
I would think Aurora
Preferred, yeah. Yeah, different rules, yeah. We're
Just
dealing
like
with state
other-
funding. You're dealing with state
Just
funding.
a quick question. Do the clients from the neighbor project have to follow the same criteria?
Everybody has to, has to house
to live
AID.
there?
Yeah, it's fair we have to follow all the fair housing laws, right? We can't give we can't all go, hey, we want these 12
Rick, can you
people.
come up? Because you have a slightly different mission, as I understand it.
Yeah, and just to piggyback a little bit off of what Lori's saying, and Chair Smith and Alderpersons, thanks for having us here.
Could you state your name for the
yes,
record,
sorry, Rick
please?
Guzman with the Neighbor Project. And so part of our mission, of course, is working with people on with the Financial Empowerment Center. And so that's helping people to become, kind of move along the spectrum of self-sustainability by building their credit, their savings, like all those things. And we think, we're really excited to be able to provide this in kind of a group setting with some of the great facilities that will be there. We also, though, and Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we had, I know that one of the parts of our application was to have a few of the units be able to go up to 50% of AMI. And so we're kind of trying to kind of create as integrated of a housing situation as possible. And we also kind of are going to be long-term exploring. It's going to be a couple of years before we get people in here, but long-term exploring possibilities of shared equity housing and opportunities that people who are at lower incomes could still access ownership opportunities. And so that's one of our real interests in this, is not only being able to serve people, like everybody across the income spectrums, through the credit building, debt reduction, savings kinds of things that really the city is the provider of, we're the contractor for, but through the Financial Empowerment Center. But then also to say people at lower incomes deserve opportunities to build wealth and save and access other opportunities as well. And that's what we hope to be able to bring to this property. And that was one of the reasons why we also asked, and actually within the state's permanent supportive housing parameters, they allow for, if you can demonstrate the need, permanent supportive housing for primarily, and it's a majority, 30% AMI families, but again, a few units that could also be for people at 50% of AMI. So if their income improves through some of the services that we're providing, they don't lose access to that housing, they can stay there, and then we can also help them continue along those spectrums to be able to say, okay, now what's next for you? Is there an opportunity for us to look at, some sort of sustainable opportunity that actually builds some equity for you in your housing? And then if and when we're able to graduate people into opportunities like that, that opens up more opportunities for these, what we know are going to be really long waiting lists.
So I have some clarification, because now listening to you, it's kind of, a couple things have melted together in my brain. What we're doing and what we're talking about today is below the 30% low-income housing, but it's for people with needs, correct?
Correct.
Not just, I don't mean to say just, I'm so sorry to put it that way. It's not low-income housing for the average person. You need to have some type of special need to be in this one that we're talking
Yes.
about today. And you're
Yes.
talking about the future as we grow this, okay.
Yeah, but there will be some families that have income, and that'll be a combination of income, right? So it'll be SSI, it'll be disability income, and there will be some people who work, but are prevented, or maybe all of them at
You
some.
want them working, yes.
Yeah, at different levels.
The
Some of them
integrity part.
Some of them will work full-time, some of them will work part-time and supplement with disability and other income. And so there again is, we want to be able, and that's the beauty of the Financial Empowerment Center model that you all support, is it's a one-on-one individualized planning. And so we want to do long-term goal setting and working with people. And we're excited that the state funding is going to align with a lot of what we're all trying to do here in Aurora.
And Rick, I don't believe the Neighborhood Project is equipped to, and I could be wrong, to work with this group of people that we're talking about for this particular.
Not exclusively, but I think that's one of the things that's, again, I think exciting about this is that there's this permanent supportive housing model that Lori's talked really well about here, but we're essentially doing permanent supportive housing, in some ways, permanent supportive housing plus, because we have a couple of partners that are here with a variety of expertise. Hesed House is here to be able to provide their wraparound services for anybody that that they are referring into this project or are working with and connect with. Really, AID is the expert in the area, and obviously have a great reputation for doing this, not just in Aurora, but in the whole region. And then the neighbor project, again, probably wouldn't be equipped, you're right, to sort of be the sole provider, but we're providing add-on, complementary, and additional services that we think will add to the success of the residents that are there.
Anyone else have any questions? Yeah, Alderman Franken.
I'm going to go back to the question that Alderwoman Bate had about Aurora residents. Do you have discretion, based on Illinois and federal laws, to prioritize Aurora residents before anybody else?
And actually, I did want to actually address that real quick. So I think one of the things that Lori said is there's a promotional way. So the answer to your question, I'll defer to Lori. She's more of an expert on that. But all of us have the ability to promote these opportunities. And Lori said this, but we're going to be promoting them to our residents. We're going to be promoting them to people that we're working with. We are going to be working with our existing referral partners to look at. So we're going to do everything that we can because we serve. This is who we serve, is primarily Aurora residents, people in this area. And so there's a lot that we can do to sort of to promote that and to encourage people and to kind of help them know and really have a little bit better idea about the availability of this. We can't hold slots necessarily for them, but we can say, here's when it's opening, get ready, do all of these things. And that's what we will be doing. But legally, I don't think we're allowed to sort of, set aside these things and sort of preempt a waiting list kind of thing. And then there are, as Lori said too, an SRN waiting list. But we're sending people to that SRN waiting list as well. So that's the state referral network. So there are ways that we can essentially promote. And of course, as Lori said, we're not advertising in Chicago. We're not advertising in, outside of the area about this. And so there are a lot of things that we can do to make sure that this is serving the area residents. But it does need to follow sort of the required waiting list. And that's, again, just in accepting this funding, we have to open it up in that sort of kind of democratic open process.
So that's a no.
That is-
I'm just going to say that's a
that's
no.
a
So
no.
wait, here's my concern. I don't know if this would ever come to fruition. You got two spots left. You got somebody from Naperville and you got somebody from Aurora. And you got to choose. You see where I'm going with that? I would like to see the Aurora person have that opportunity over somebody else. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but that's why I said, is it legal or not? If you don't have the discretion, what you talked about is perfect. Advertise to our people because that's all you can do. But if we do have the discretion, because we just did something, and it's not the same, but we did low-income housing, 1449 states. Priorities, Aurora residents, veterans. We can do that. I don't know what we can do here, but if we can't, what you said makes perfect sense. I'm just trying to figure it out. I just hate to see Aurora residents left out because we're going to get a call that says, Alderman, we've been here for 30 years. I have a child, blah, blah, blah. And they got people over here from Naperville and Lisle and Elgin. Why can't we get it? And I'm just trying to avoid that. And then I could say, well, we don't have that discretion, but we're going to try to make sure that you guys get the word out. So that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we can commit to looking into every possibility that we can.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
I can ask that, we have a tenant selection plan, right, that had to be submitted when we submit, our application for funding, right, to the Illinois Housing Development Authority. And we can ask them if we can, add a preference for Aurora residents. But every jurisdiction always worries about this whenever you are developing a project, and 20 units is so small that I, can almost guarantee, like, we've had such great success at AID with putting our clients on the statewide referral network. People don't choose to put themselves on a waiting list for somewhere that they don't know and that they can't live, right? So I have very rarely seen, and back in the day, I actually used to run the statewide referral network whenever I worked at the state, and they have protections in there as well because they don't want people just, going off somewhere and not being able to be successful because they're not from the community and it's not, meant for folks that aren't from the community. So we can, certainly talk to our funder, to see if we could update the tenant selection plan to add a preference or for Aurora residents, but I really feel confident that it will be filled by Aurora residents. We also have, we at AID, we don't accept referrals for our IDD programs, for our intellectual and developmental disability programs, except for from people that are from our service area and or trying to come back to our service area, because sometimes people's family have had to accept services from somewhere else in the IDD system, but the family still, is here and wants their loved one near them if they get the opportunity, and that's the only other thing that I could possibly see, at least on the intellectual and developmental disability side, which is a really different service system than the behavioral health side.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you all for the presentation. I'm not going to read the entire items, I'll just read the
Just the number.
numbers. So we're going to start with 25-0079. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The item moves forward, 5-0. Item number 25-0080.
So
Motion?
moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item moves forward, 5-0. And item number 25-0081.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
That item, or opposed? No opposed. Item moves forward, 5-0. That's all we have today for BZ&E. No need for a closed session. May I
Motion to
have a
adjourn.
motion to
Second.
adjourn? We have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is over. Thank you.